Hi y'all, let's talk about, this is 3D, which is the Consumer Price Index. I'll let you read this yourself, but the Consumer Price Index basically tells you what the cost of things are and how it compares from one year to the next. So they go out and they test a lot of products and see how the price has changed, and that all goes into calculating the Consumer Price Index, or the CPI. If you'll notice here, here's a chart of the CPI, and you can see that this particular chart starts at 1977. It goes way beyond that for prior years, and this particular chart stops at 2016. The values exist up to 2019. 2020 hasn't been calculated yet, but if you go online, you can find this and see what the price is. But this is, again, how you can check what is going on in your life. How could it affect your life? Well, it deals with inflation, or as prices go up, which, if you can notice here, from the index in 1977 starts at 60. In 2016, it's 240. So you can see it's going up. And in fact, the only time it goes down on this particular part of the chart is from 2008 to 2009, which is when we experienced a recession. But how does it affect your life? It concerns rent, cost of food, pay raises, any number of things it's going to impact. One of the things that people talk about is, when you get a raise, do you really get a raise? Because a lot of times companies will just give you a cost of living index raise, which means they're just going to match what how much the CPI goes up, so that you're not losing money. You're not making any headway. It's just that things cost more. So in the current value, you have the same amount of money. Okay, but there are other things that could cause it to go down. We talked about a recession that we experienced in 2009. If you will note, the Consumer Price Index, they base it on different products, and one of the things that really changed this year with the virus, so we could actually put COVID in here, that's something new. But gas prices went way down based on consumption, and so that would it'll be interesting to see what the CPI rate turns out to be at the end of 2020 because of what's going on. Okay, so there are a lot of things that could cause it, but what do we do with this data? So how do we figure this out? Well, the first thing, I don't know if it's on yours or not, but we need to change the dates on this to 1977 because the chart doesn't go back to 1976. If you will notice, if you average 82, 83, and 84, these three values right here, the average of them is 100. So everything prior to that is below 100. Everything since then is above 100, unless there's a fluke year or something. Okay, so since 1977 is before 1982, do you expect it to be more or less than 100? It's going to be less. What is the CPI in 1977? It is 60.6. In 2000, it is 172.2. Why is that greater? Well, the short answer is because 2000 is after the 1982 to 1984 period, but just in general, things just increase. All right, so to compare the prices for different years, you compare the CPIs. And you do that by using this formula here. All right. And that will tell you how many times it goes up. Okay, So how much higher were prices in 2008 than in 1980? And we want to round to 2 decimal places. So if I look at this, the CPI in 2008 is 215.3. And the CPI in 1980 is 82.4. So my formula becomes 215.3 is equal to X times 82.4. Notice what it equals to is the later date, and this is the earlier date. And that can be important in setting this up. Okay, so how do I do this? I want to isolate the x. I've got it multiplied by 82.4, so I have to divide it by 82.4. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So that tells me that x is equal to 215.3, and I'm going to do it like you would in your calculator, 82.4, and what I get, and rounded to 2 decimal places, is x equals 2.61. So prices in 2008 were 2.61 times those in 1980. Now another way to look at that is prices in 2008 were 261% of those in 1980. Okay, so there we go on that. All right, let's go to the back and see what we can do. All right, so let's see about adjusting for inflation, and this is one of those things that you want to do. And that when you talk about that, you talk about present value. These are words that you probably have heard on the news or any kind, if you take any kind of finance or economics class. All right, so do you think the typical price of a car in 2008 is more or less than 1980? I would say more, because 2008 is after 1980, so you would think that. So if a car costs $4,500 in 1980, what is its price in 2008? Okay, so let's see if we can figure out how to do this. All right, so really all we're going to do is just multiply it by that ratio. Okay, so if you're doing this, this is the 1980 dollars. And what I want in my answer is dollars. So what I'm going to do is use the ratio of the CPIs. Now what I'm going to do, since I want the years to cancel, I want this dollars in 2008. So I know that in 1980, the CPI is 82.4. And in 2008, the CPI is 215.3. And those are just the figures that we used in our last problem. Okay, so what happens here? The 1980s cancel. We've got our 2008. And we've got our dollar sign. So now I just have to take 4,500 times 215.3 divided by 82.4, and we're going to round this to dollars and cents. So this is 11,757.89. And yes, it does fit our prediction. So $4,500 in 1980 is the same thing as $11,757.89 in 2008. Okay. All right, in 1980 is the reference year. Okay. So normally when we're talking about our reference year, that is the older date. That's what we're comparing it to. We want to know what's going on at a later date based on the earlier date. But this is the formula that you're going to want to do adjusting prices based on inflation. Okay. Now you can do this with anything of prices, salaries. I know, again, a lot of people, they get a raise or they don't get a raise, or they get a cost of living raise and think they're making more money, and maybe they're not, maybe they are. It doesn't matter. But this is the formula that we're going to use. All right, so let's complete the following to answer a question. If you need $30,000 to live comfortably in 2005, what would you have needed in 1995? Well, do you think it's going to be more or less? Since I'm going backwards, it's going to be less. Okay. Now, this year, even though the older date is normally, we're starting in our beginning value. This is going to be our reference value. So the year is 2005. So if we want to find the price in 1995, which means the salary that would make you comfortable in 1995, we're going to use what we have, the price in 2005, which is $30,000. Okay. And of course we're going to put this over 1. Now since this is a 2005 date, what I need here is a 2005 CPI. And I'm comparing it to 1995. Okay, so the CPI in 2005 is 195.3. In 1995, it better be less than that, is 152.4. And again, I'm just pulling these from the table. It's hard for me to show it to you. So I am really just going to take 30,000 times 152.4 divided by 195.3, and if I'm dealing with dollars, of course I'm going to round to 2 decimal places, so this becomes 23,410.14. Once again, you'll notice that our 2005's canceled. We're left with 1995, and this is dollars. So it's just like our unit conversions. We have to, only this time we're canceling out years instead of anything else. Okay, so in 1977, and again we're going to have to change the date because I don't have the thing for 1996, a box of diapers was $3. What is its price in 2005? Okay, this is what I am given. So this is my reference value. Okay, so my price in 2005 is going to be equal to the price in 1977 times the CPI. Now I need 2005. So this is going to be 2005 divided by the CPI of 1977. Okay. The 77s will cancel. Note, remember, you can always turn this into a fraction by putting it over 1. So let's go ahead and fill in these values. The price in 1997 is $3. And again, I'm just going to put that over 1. So, and then the CPI in 2005 is going to be 195.3, and in 1977 it's 60.6. When I multiply that out, 3 times 195.3 divided by 60.6, let me go ahead and write that out. 3 times 195.3 divided by 60.6, I get that the price in 2005 is $9.67. Now I know it's $9.668 or something like that, dollars and cents. We're going to round to the nearest hundred. Okay. All right, let's talk quickly about the rate of inflation. It's just the relative change formula. It's just that we're going to be using CPIs. That's all it is. And we know that formula, the relative change formula. Okay. All right, so we want to find the rate of inflation between 1980 and 2008. So the CPI for 1980 is 82.4. The CPI for 2008, we've used a lot, is 215.3. Now, what is our reference value? The older date, we want to find the rate of inflation, so we're going to start with 1980 and see what we end up with in 2008. So this is my reference value, then this becomes my compared value, and I can just plug it into the formula. So if I do that, it is my compared value minus my reference value divided by my reference value. Remember, when you're doing this in your calculator, parentheses divided by parentheses. And if you do that, write your answer as a percent. It doesn't tell me about rounding, so I'm going to go ahead and use a couple of decimal places. This becomes 1.6129, but it's asking for a percent, which is 161.29%. If you did it, since it didn't say about rounding, if you did it as 161.3, that's fine. Okay, so according to the inflation rate, items typically cost 161.29% more. Okay. So if your home value increased 200% during this time, is it more or less than the inflation rate? Well, 200% is more than 161.29%, so it is more. Okay, that's that.